Hey there, in this video we're going to look at type in Photoshop. Okay, there's just two basic flavors. Okay, one is like this text box here which types on forever. Okay, and then there's this one here with the type tool which has a fixed width where you can kind of get it to type to kind of be a bit more body copy-ish. We'll learn some tricks about resizing and some other quickie little things as well. So let's get into it. Okay, so we are continuing on with the file from the last project. If you are just jumping into this one, you can open it up by going File, Open. And in your exercise files under O3 Shapes, you can open up this one called Coloring Shapes. Open that up and you'll get close to where we're at now. So we're going to use the type tool. Okay, it's reasonably simple. There's two kind of main ways of using it. Now, one thing to note is because we're working with all these shapes, Photoshop really likes to, if I've got the type tool selected and I'm on a shape layer like this ellipse, it's going to try and combine the text into this shape here, which is not going to work for us. So if you do run into that problems, go to Undo, then go to Select and go to Deselect Layer. So there's nothing selected. So there's two ways of adding text, right? If I click once, okay, and I start typing, all stars. Okay, it'll just go on forever. I'm going to select all this text. Okay, I'm dragging my mouse across it and I'm going to pick a friendlier font size for you guys to see. So just if you click once, it's just going to keep going forever. You can put a return in. Okay, so let's say I want all stars on 2 lines. I can just click in front of it, hit return, and I've got a return. Let's ignore the giant leading. Actually, no, let's adjust their leading. So I'm going to select both of these guys. It's because I was playing with this earlier. The leading is the space between the lines, and it is this option here. Okay, you can kind of hover above it. It's called line spacing here, no leading. Okay, and you can set it back to often auto is a happy size. Now, the other way of adding type is let's go back to our move tool that kind of like commits that text you're done. Grab the type tool again, and instead of just clicking once, which types on forever, we're going to click and drag out a box. So I'm going to kind of start halfway in here. I've got to make sure no layers are selected, or at least none of these shape layers. I'm going to click, hold, and drag a box like this. And by clicking, holding, and dragging, what it does is it allows you to have what's called a fixed width box. Just means when I start typing, it's going to break down to the second line. Okay, so it's really good for body text. We're doing this option here, okay, where we want the text to kind of snap around. So a couple of things, useful things, is I'm going to select all my text and delete it all. Okay, I'm going to pick an appropriate font size. 20 is too big for in here. Appropriate font size is, I can't even remember. Let's go for 16 points in this case. I'm going to pick a font. I'm using Museo Sans Rounded. I like it. It's pretty. You're probably not going to have it. Okay, it's just a font that I've downloaded from something called Typekit. So just have a little look through here. Pick a font. Pick a weight. This is like bold, light, medium. But especially the font size, get it to something like 16. Okay, it's probably still too big. Let's put in 12 for the moment. And I want to show you a couple little things. One is, let's say you want to put in some fake text because you don't have it yet, right? I'm going to switch mine off being capitals, delete that. Mine's on capitals because under advanced here, advanced. Okay, I clicked on this button earlier when I was working on a side project. That just says whenever I type, make it all capitals. I've turned that off and I'm going to close that back in. Advanced is not that advanced. Okay, just has some extra stuff that you might need. I'll close it down. Back in there, please. Great, so I've got 12 points. I've picked a font. And instead of just typing in like mumbo jumbo, because you don't have the text yet, right? You're waiting for the client to have it. There is something in here that's quite handy. I'm going to delete all that. I'm going to go to type. So my cursor's flashing inside of here. Type tool, flashing inside of here. Type. There's this one called Paste Lorem Ipsum. You probably know what that is already. If you don't, it's just mixed up Latin words. It's like, yeah, they're actual Latin words. They're just in a random order so that they're just good to hold the place of text until you get it. There's lots in there, so that it just dumps a big lot of text in there. So if you delete a word, it's probably going to be replaced by another word. Okay, it's just there's so much kind of spilling out of this. What you can do is I can click in there, go to select, and go to all. So it selects all the text and find a font size that works for me. 10 point, font, weight. Now we're going to do a couple of things, but we're not going to go through every font option like centered versus right align. You'll be able to work that out. This one is the space between lines. What I like to do as well, you can type it in here. You can go, oh, I want it to be 24. Okay, but I like to, on these icons, we've looked at it before. You can click, hold, and drag on these icons, right? Just kind of drag them up and down. If your computer's old and slow, dragging that thing just is painful. You have to type it in. Sorry about that. To move your type, grab the move tool, okay, and make sure you're on that layer, and I'm gonna move them around. That's gonna work for me. What else am I gonna do? I'm just gonna add some type now, okay? I'm just gonna basically add this stuff in here. You can totally leave now. There's no super awesome, one super awesome trick, okay? Say this all stars thing here, so I've got the layer selected. Instead of going and playing with the font size, which is fine, you can drag it up, okay? I'm going to undo and put it back. What I like to do is that same trick we used to scale up these circles works for fonts. Okay, so Command T on a Mac or Control T on a PC. The long way, remember, is under Edit, Transform, and there's one in there called Scale. And I find this is easy. Holding Shift, I find I can just get the font size that I want, roughly there. Hit Return when you're finished, and you can see it's bumped it up to a weird 44.44. In terms of the leading, I'm probably just gonna drag it down a little bit. I'm probably gonna make this bigger now. Now you can go, there's no super extra tricks. I'm gonna grab my lorem ipsum and I'm gonna drag it so it lines up. I'm gonna grab this rectangle. I'm gonna grab this, I'm gonna move it up, and I'm gonna grab my type tool. I'm gonna put in that C Taylor. Love you, Chuck, you made some sweet shoes. If you're not huge on fonts, okay, often it's nice just to use the same font but different weights. So this one's the really thick 1000, or if it was another font, it might be called extra black or bold. Okay, I'm gonna turn it down to like 300. Yeah, 300. Oh, I'm gonna go full 100. Okay, font size again. Instead of using font size, I'm just using the Command T key. There's a little bit of dragging this thing around, moving it around, getting it how I want. You can keep typing it out. Often a nice little trick is this all stars layer here. Okay, I'm gonna right click it and I'm gonna duplicate it. Should give it a name. I'm not going to, I'm just gonna drag it down because what I wanna do is grab my type tool. I'm gonna put in a web address. So this one's gonna be www.scottshoes.com. Font size too small. Use my transform. Scott Shoes doesn't exist. So I made that up because it's my last name. You, when you're doing it, give it your own name. You could be, I don't know, Smith Shoes. I think that's an actual thing though. Oh, look, I've spelled shoes wrong. I kind of like it. It's kind of like, I don't know, I feel like it's foreign. Maybe a little too foreign. Nobody's going to find my website. Shoes. Awesome. So that's going to be it for the kind of basics for fonts. And we are going to look at doing type around a line in the next video. So let's go and do that there. All right. See you there.